No, he's away. All right, Al, we're live. All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled Taber Town Council meeting for February 27th, 2023. Call the meeting to order, and for the record, just to announce, Councillor Rudd is unable to attend today, and Councillor Sorensen is joining us online as well. So if I ask for the adoption of the agenda, please. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the agenda as amended to allow for the opportunity to undertake closed session items prior to the timing of delegations at 5 p.m.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 3, there are no public hearings. Adoption minutes. Item 4.1, minutes, regular meeting of council, February 13th, 2023. Mr. Thibault.
Meeting minutes are in front of you. Nothing more to explain for you to approve.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor
I
Broom.
just have one,
Oh, sure. Councillor Sorensen, you bet.
just under business arising from the minutes. 52nd Street and 40th Ave, it says that it was carried unanimously. And I think it was just carried because I did vote against that for the bulb out.
All right, okay, fair enough. We're able to adjust that accordingly. All right, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Sorensen. We do have a motion on the table, amended motion on the table. Councillor Broom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on February 13th, 2023 as presented.
Should be as amended.
Amended, sorry.
As amended. All right, perfect. Motion
Yes.
on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.1, disposal of animal carcasses at landfill. Mr. Thibault.
Mr. Shearer will come up and speak to that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shearer.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, members of council.
Good afternoon.
From our last meeting, we were asked to investigate disposal of animal carcass at the landfill site. Not exactly a duty I enjoy, but we got through it. And actually, the approving authority is Alberta Environment here. So that's where we go, our regulatory base. We contact our environmental protection officer, Jen Bitten. She walked us through the process. We told her everything that had happened, that, members of Trail 77 had found a carcass, notified Ms. DeBona. Ms. DeBona notified her staff to bury it immediately. So she went through every aspect of that with our protection officer. She said that is exactly what we should be doing. It is totally appropriate just to bury it immediately so that no other animals get into it in case it is diseased or anything like that. So that's the appropriate method for landfill. And we followed that through our code of practice for landfills. I do have a picture of the carcasses. I didn't want to put in the RFD because it is rather graphic. If any members of the council would like to view it, that is up to you. No?
Okay, I don't think we're.
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's just like 3 garbage bags with, looks like a cow carcass in it. No more than that. I couldn't tell if it was 1 or 2. I can't count 4 hooves or 8 hooves. But for 3 garbage bags and a big cow carcass, normally it's just 1, if that. So with that, I want to point out that where this was dumped, you can see that was definitely out of our area of operations. It was definitely hid from us. There's no doubt about that. We would not normally go over there for any means at all, but it does fall in our approval for landfill. So I think the appropriate measures were done by Ms. DeBona. With that, we'll take council's questions.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, for your efforts and your investigation. Just a question. Have there any other incidents that you know of besides this particular case?
I'm talking to Ms. DeBona, we get about 1 animal carcass a year. And there again, we immediately bury it as per our approval. Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, just Mr. Shearer, just a question of the location. Would that be somewhere where they're coming in from another direction, off some private land there? Or,
No,
sorry, I guess.
it's really hard to get to.
Yeah.
Actually, the only people that go there are CNRL to look at the well site. There's
Okay.
no reason to go there other than to hides them.
But what I'm saying, is there another access from the west there somewhere?
There is another access from the
Okay,
west.
right.
There are a couple other accesses you might be able to get into if you cut some fence. There's no
Okay,
doubt.
so there's no gate, just a matter of opening the gate to get in
No,
at that end?
no.
Okay.
That gate is locked up.
Oh, it is?
We
Okay.
do want to point out, we don't know when this was dropped off,
Right.
what time of day or weekend, we don't know.
Could have been after dark for that matter.
Yeah, could have been,
Right.
after hours.
Well, they got in there somehow.
If they'll get in, they'll get in.
But yeah, all right.
Then we should point out, if our environmental officer deemed necessary for it to have investigation, she would do so. In this case,
Right.
she did not deem that.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, thanks for taking all those steps, and Lisa as well.
Yep.
All right, perfect. No motion required. No other questions? Right, good to move on. Perfect, thank you. On to item 6, bylaws, item 6.1, proposed supplementary assessment bylaw 3-2023. Mr. Tebow.
I believe Mr. Orwa is going to come up. This is a typical supplementary assessment bylaw comes forward each year for council.
Right, thank you, Mr. Roy.
Good afternoon, worship and members of council.
Good afternoon.
Yes, as Mr. Thibault has said, this comes every year. And this is one of those bylaws that have deadlines. So we normally start early so that our assessor can assess anything, the supplementary ones during the year.
All right, pretty basic, Mr. Roy.
Well, it's pretty basic. It's done every year. And,
Okay.
it's just the timeline that
Right.
we're making sure that
Okay, fair enough. All right, any questions arising? Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Very well.
That council gives first reading to bylaw 3-2023, being the supplementary assessment bylaw for the town of Tabor as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Someone prepared to make the second required motion. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives second reading to bylaw 3-2023, being the supplementary assessment bylaw of the town of Tabor as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council unanimously agrees to proceed with third and final reading to bylaw 3-2023, being the supplementary assessment bylaw of the town of Tabor as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Someone prepared to make the fourth required motion. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 3-2023, being the supplementary assessment bylaw for the town of Tabor as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 7, action items. Item 7.1, appointment of deputy mayor. Mr. Tebow.
So no motions required on this with mayor, but we, through our organizational meeting, we appoint deputy mayor roles, and deputy mayor Firth's role is complete as of tomorrow. So next on the list would be Councillor Rudd. And if there was any further questions, Carrie can speak to them. Again, no motion required, but we do have alternative one, seeing that Councillor Rudd isn't here today, that we might want to entertain.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Because he's not here today to be sworn in, because you have to swear him in, I believe, would not be best just to put it off until the next meeting.
Mr. Tebow, to confirm?
So alternative one is offering that option, exactly, yes.
Right, okay. So there is an alternative one there, Councillor Bruin, if you want to go with that. Motion that
Yeah,
covers
I
the
can,
base.
I can do that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, very well.
Council, council will not, I'm sorry, how will I read this? Council will choose not to do the oath of office at this meeting and instead do it at the next regular meeting scheduled March 13th, 2023.
All right, that'll work. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor?
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.2, 2022 capital projects. Mr. Tebow.
So we have the capital projects listing. There was an update from a dollars and cents perspective that was handed out to each council member in hard copy in front of you. Two projects in particular, just other invoicing came in since we created the RFD. And John could speak to any one of those capital projects, or myself, or any other directors that are available to speak to it if there's any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to administration. I was curious, it seems like there's a lot of recreation department projects that haven't moved forward. And I was just curious as to why that is. I'm guessing it's probably a variety of reasons, but it just seemed like a large amount that haven't started. So I was curious why that was.
All right, thank you.
Mr.
Tebow?
Egan, could you care to speak to?
Two primary reasons. Several of the projects were tendered several times and came in over budget. And the group elected to look at the scope and retender them at a different time. The second major reason is just capacity in the department with staff changes and very limited project management capability that existed in the previous year. That's been resolved now with the hiring of Mike Melhelm, who is a certified project manager. And so you should see all the 22 and 23 approved, but capital projects be completed before the end of this year.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to administration. I just had a quick question about the locker replacement. I just wanted to make sure that we're still kind of keeping the same format. I really appreciate the quarter, like these are the locker replacements at the pool, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have been to other facilities like in Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, and it's where you have to bring your own lock and you have to lock your own stuff, and I am not prepared for that. You know, like I don't know that I have to show up with a lock, and so I was just curious as to what kind of system we're replacing them with.
We reviewed all of the options in reviewing these tenders, but we're going to stick with the coin operated.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I look at the list here, Mr. Orwa, and I see two items here, the master plan for stormwater and the solar PV system. There's lines through them. What does that mean, sir?
Thank you very much for that question. I think Mr. Tebow explained that from the beginning. That's why we give you those printed copies. Now, we try to delay this as much as we can so that we wait for all the invoices to come in. But by the time we were sending the first one that went to council, there were some additional invoices that came in. And that was one of them for the stormwater and for the lagoon PV system. So we just updated those numbers for you.
Okay.
So that we have the most accurate, carry forward that council can work with.
Thank you, Mr. Orwa.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Orwa. All right, any other questions arising? Councillor Broom?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question about the EV ice resurfacer. What is that?
I can speak to that one. That's the electric vehicle. That stands for the Zamboni that we had ordered. And so I think it's due to come in May, last I understood. So that's the electric Zamboni.
Now, with this, does that include a plug-in for it and everything, or is this just the machine?
It's the plug-in and everything has already been installed
Okay.
in the rink, and so it's just waiting for the unit to show up, and then we can operate it.
And will we have a backup unit for when it runs out of juice during games, or?
So we always have two units. The other unit would be what we use for the small ice, so that one's still always available to us. We typically have two units.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions arising?
I just have a question.
Councillor Sorensen, you better go ahead.
I was just wondering for the tennis court upgrade, if that includes pickleball, because it seems to be there's more and more users for that sport also.
All right, thank you.
Looks like Brian's stepping forward for this one.
Yes, I think the drawing had four or six new pickleball along with the 2 tennis courts.
Perfect, thank
All
you.
right, very good, thank you. All right, no other question arises. Someone make that motion? Counselor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council approves the list of 2022 capital projects to be carried forward to 2023.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously, thank you. Item 7.3, feral and stray cat discussion. Mr. Tebow.
Okay, a little while back, this was brought to council's attention based on based on a request from the Last Chance Cat Ranch. I have to say that slowly, tongue twister, and corroborated by Taper Police Service that there is a stray cat concern out there in the community. So as previously mentioned, I had dealt with the company, a contracted service, historically in my last role. And so council asked me to reach out to them and get some more information around what they would be able to provide and what that cost looks like and all that sort of stuff. So this is that additional information. It's still not 100%, there's variables, I guess. So it looks to be about $60 per feral cat, which would equal, for this $10,000 in the neighborhood of 130 cats. But there is variables that the cats may have to be treated for something other than just, spay, neuter, and release, so that they're, worms or other shots, or it'll be dependent upon what they find when they get a hold of the animal. There could be some costs for holding on to the animal for a little longer if they can't release it right away and that sort of stuff. So what the program is laying out is that they can provide this type of service for $10,000. They're willing to herd as many cats as they can, and then perform their service and re-release them back into the community they came from. And if there's any other questions, I will try to field them, but what you have in front of you with the letter and the background information is pretty much all I know as well.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Counselor Bruin?
So basically, I like the gist of this, but so anyone who lets Fifi out roam free without a license is caught. It'll be checked, earmarked, and set free again.
I know that they do a check for what are those things called, like a little electronic tag? Yeah, the chip. So they check for a chip on an animal. I don't know how well they know whether one is feral or a pet. I suspect you could probably tell by how good they look or don't look, but I don't know if there's enough science to that.
Some resident's cat shows up in the morning and has a hole in its ear because it was marked. It's a great idea, but I think we're going to run into some issues with it that way. Like,
it's quite possible. I
guess
don't know how they
let your
recognize.
cat run free, it's on you. It'll come.
They do an awful lot of consultation, so they have dates in here. There's a whole media piece that they do, so perhaps residents would be best to keep their cats indoors on those 2 days or 3 days where that's happening. I don't know how they go about it, but I'm sure this isn't their first time doing it. So.
Yeah,
So 2 days to trap the cats, 1 day to do surgery. That's basically it.
yeah, and I think
Be
Counselor
exciting.
Bruin, with their experience, I'm sure they're going to know the difference, as Mr. Tebow indicated, that the difference between an actual family pet compared to feral, quite different. Well, yeah, there's quite a difference. But yeah, all things considered, we have not done anything for 3 years, right? I believe it's been 3 years since we discontinued that
We'll be
originally.
coming up on 3 years.
Yeah, so there's been many complaints and concerns about that as well through our police service, recognizing the same scenario. So I think we got to start somewhere for sure. Councilor Bruin?
So I figure that'll do 166 cats. So if they catch 20 cats in 2 days, they'll just charge per cat, or is it we're given a contract for 10,000 for the whole lot?
I actually didn't ask that question. I don't. If they only catch 20 cats, I can't imagine there'd be able to charge us $10,000.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is it per cat or is it just a set amount of 10,000?
Well, they tried to give a cost per cat, so like they offered, the $60, depending on what else is going on. But
Yeah, the base figure is there, but that's not a guarantee, depending on what kind of condition the cat may be in and require some other veterinary assistance.
and
or
how many
shots.
they actually capture. I mean, that'll all be
Right.
disclosed to us. So
See, I don't see that in here though, where it says this is based on this number of cats or anything. It's just, we're gonna pay them $10,000 to catch however many cats they can in 2 days and treat them.
administration can certainly go back and ask that question because you're right. It's not
Pretty good
spelled out. in there.
contract.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's a fair statement, I guess. It isn't completely crystal clear, is it? All right, any other questions arising? Counselor Sorensen, do you have any questions?
No, just based on Councillor Bruin's comment, I would put a motion forward, if I may. That council would
absolutely.
request additional information related to the discussion of this item.
All right, thank you.
Do
Motion
you
on the
need more
table.
than that?
Pardon me,
Do you
I
need
think
more
that
than
does
or
that cover the
just
basis,
administration?
Mr. Tebow?
Yep, I believe Councillor Sorensen has read alternative 1.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, all right. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor?
Carried unanimously, thank you. On to item 7.4, information for council. Mr. Tebow?
Sorry, just playing catch up. So this one is a progress report for the Meadows. And we were getting these reports historically. We've put it into our open session. Mr. Egan or myself would be able to answer any questions that pertain to this for the Meadows. Well, at council's pleasure.
Right, thank you. Any questions arising?
I guess I do.
Counselor Sorensen, you go ahead.
To administration, do we know when the modular homes will be available for sale to the public?
All right, thank you, Mr. Tebow.
Mr. Egan will come forward. I've asked him to prepare for a possible question just like that.
Right now, all 4 units are undergoing renovations to either a minor or a larger extent. All 4 units are used units, and so material delivery has become an issue, which is why 3 of the 4 are not yet completely skirted, and work still remains to do on the inside of the homes. The best guess, and it is literally a guess at this time because of the material delivery issues, is the end of this month we plan to have all 4 units up for sale. The 5th unit is the show home, and that can be for sale as well. That's the best information we have at time.
All right, thank you, Counselor Sorensen.
If I may, Mr. Mayor. So currently, though, there are lots available for the public to purchase, and there are availability for the public to purchase their own unit.
Yes, there are 93 total lots available, of which these occupy just 5.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, seeing none, no motion required in that regard. Moving on to item 7.5, department reports. I will read those out accordingly. If you have any questions, please stop me. First one is CAO report. Next, administrative services report. Finance department report. Planning and community service report. Fire department report. HR department report. Engineering and public works report. And public works treatment facilities report. You have a recreation question? Counselor McLean? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a recreation department question. I was just wondering actually about more swimming lesson classes offered, if that's a possibility. I know that we switched from, I can't remember the previous. Anyways, they switched providers, and so I know that people really struggle to get into swim lessons, and so I was just wondering if that is a possibility, or it's because of the number of instructors that we have, or if that is something that we can do.
I'll let Mr. Martin speak to that. It looks like he was half prepared.
At this time, I believe we've maxed out with the extended time that the lessons take now. So we've reached our maximum capacity for teaching more at this time.
All right, thank you. Any other recreation questions? We got them here. Okay. All right. Okay, no other questions. We will move on to mayor and department, or mayor and council reports. Councilor Sorensen, can I start with you, please?
Sure. I just attended all of my meetings as requested, and I just hope that the coldest night of the year for the Tabor Food Bank was very successful, and it seems like there's an increased usage. So definitely a very, very valuable thing that provides food for the community.
All right, thank you, Councilor Bruin.
I have
Councilor Sorensen, you had some more?
no.
Oh, okay. All right, just to clarify, Councilor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended various meetings, MPC, Highway 3, a couple others here and there. Busy month. Everything's going well. Town looks great. I think the town's done a great job removing snow. Considering the conditions with the ice we had, I think our town's looking in really good shape, and I've had lots of compliments on that.
All right, thank you, Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended all of the meetings I was supposed to, except the Arts and Heritage meeting. I missed that one this past week. I was away. I also attended the Chamber of Commerce Annual Awards and dinner. I just wanted to say congratulations to the Loft, Brock Campbell, Tabor Gymnastics Fitness Club, and all the Employee of the Year nominees that were honored at that dinner. And I also attended the Green Shirt Day event at the arena on Saturday. And I want to say thank you to Jan Clemis and the Boulay family for raising awareness about organ donation in our community.
All right, thank you, Councilor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
How you been?
Too many buttons here. Yeah, as council knows, I'm on the board of Family Community Support Service for Southern Alberta. I just want to draw the council's attention to our all councils meeting, which is coming up pretty quick in the beginning of April, I believe, in Coaldale, and this will be the first one in 4 years almost. And I really encourage council members and the mayor, of course, to attend that. It's very worthwhile. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also attended all the meetings that were required of me, the MPC and the library board, and I also participated in the joint council dinner with Coaldale, which was very nice. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And for myself, I also attended a variety of meetings and document signing requirements. Dealt with several local and area media updated interviews. I did attend the Tabor Public Library Karaoke Kids event, as well as the Chamber of Commerce Banquet and Awards Night. I also attended the local 4-H club speak-offs in the judging capacity, and I had the pleasure of attending Mr. Hans Visser's 90th birthday celebration event recently. I also attended the 4-H and district speak-offs, also in the judging capacity this past weekend, as well as attended the Tabor Food Bank Coldest Night of the Year annual fundraiser event, hoping to raise $20,000. At the start of the event, they had it confirmed they were right at $34,000, so they're ahead of their goal, and expected to be higher before the end-all figure came in. I did also attend the Tabor Ice Arena on the second annual Green Shirt Day for the Logan Boulay Organ Donation Recognition and Awareness Day. Very well attended, very well put together event. And that would be my reports. No motion required for that unless there's any questions from anyone. All right, moving on to item 7.7, the standing item council requests. Mr. Tebow.
My favorite part of the meeting. So item number one, still in progress, being the pickup of the public or of the carts. We have I think an agreed to list of questions that is going to go out, but still in progress for now. The possibilities of creating a road between 43rd and 43rd Street and 56th Avenue is still in progress. We did just meet with the developer last week. I think it was Thursday. So some quotes are happening, and we're looking at putting in a fully serviced curb, gutter, and services. We're getting a quote on that and seeing if we can make that happen this year yet. Councillor Beckering, we spoke to the disposing of the animal carcasses earlier today, so that one's looked after. And we are still waiting in progress for the Councillor Rudd street conditions on 44th Street and 51st Avenue. And I'll hand it over to council.
All right, thank you. Any other standing item council requests? Councillor Sorensen, do you have anything at all?
No, not today.
All right. No other council members either? Okay. Yeah, we're good. All right. No motion required in that regard. All right. With that, we have our delegations starting at 5 p.m. So I'll just ask to move into closed session to deal with our closed session material. And once we're done that, be able to reconvene at 5 p.m. for our delegations. We can have a motion in that regard, please. Councillor Firth?
I make a motion that we move into closed session.
Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Counselor Sorensen, just to confirm, we have you back with us online?
I am here.
All right, thank you. If we could reconvene the meeting, please. On to our item number 8, delegations. Item 8.1, presentation to Ashley Tim. Mr. Tebow.
Ashley Tim has joined us, and if we could get you to come up to the podium, Mr. Mayor will come and do the presentation.
Speak into the mic so they can hear us here. So, Ms. Ashley Tim, it's my pleasure to be able to provide you with a check from the town of Tabor. And thank you so very much for your honesty and integrity for turning in this found money. And as per the town of Tabor and Tabor Police Service policy, it was recommended to turn this found money back to yourself. So have that in the form of a check to yourself. And thank you very much for that, that very well thought of
Thank you.
gesture to do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Check on the mouse, John?
Cash it right away. Great thing you did. Very honorable.
Yes, thank you again, Ashley. Appreciate that very much, and I'm glad it's worked out exactly how this has. Very well deserved. Thank you. I have a motion in that regard also, please, Councillor Firth.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. I move that council thanks Ashley Tim for her honesty and integrity in turning in the found funds to the Tabor Police Service and commends Miss Tim for her extraordinary strength of character. Also that, that council releases the $5,000 turned into the Tabor Police Service by Ashley Tim back to Ashley Tim.
Great, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Chair Nancy. Thank you again, once again, Ashley Tim. Yeah.
Hide that one.
Oh my gosh. Not okay.
All right, thank you once again, Ms. Ashley Tim. All right, moving on to item 8.2, Communities in Bloom mural project sponsorship. Change request, Mr. Tebow.
So I see we have some Communities in Bloom representation here. I'm not 100% certain who's coming up, but great. Come
You're
on
all
up.
three welcome if you like, or just one spokesperson will be fine also, whichever you request.
Also, Recreation is here if there was any historical questions on the murals we've been able to complete, because this was in conjunction, sort of along the same lines as what Communities in Bloom was looking at doing.
All right, Ms. Rumble.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm glad to see that you're giving money out today. Good afternoon, Mayor Prokop and members of the Town Council. On behalf of Communities in Bloom, I'm here to discuss the $15,000 in kind that we were granted from the Town of Tabor on the 18th of July last year, that we decided to use for the preparation work on the exterior walls of the selected businesses for the historic art murals. Our dilemma with the $15,000 in kind, and we don't get me wrong, we are very appreciative of it, is that we found this arrangement to be of limited use to us due to town staff shortages, time restraints, and the unavailability of specific equipment required for our needs. We tried to implement the use of these funds in August and September of last year and encountered numerous logistical problems. When we requested the south-facing wall on Tabor Cold Beer be power washed to prepare the wall for priming, we were told after just about a week that the town did not have a pressure washer. So the town arranged for one of the muralists that were doing your murals last year. He agreed to wash the wall for us, But he was busy, so we would have to wait until he was available. Over a week went by before the wall was power washed. We inquired about scaffolding because that is a very high wall and we needed it for priming and also for the artists to begin painting. Or a power lift, which would have worked even better. But again, we were informed that the town had neither. Tabor Home and Farm had donated the specific type of primer paint that we required. And when we requested the town supply the manpower and the spray painter, we again were informed that the town had neither. The town then contacted another one of the muralists that was there who agreed, he was given the dimensions of the wall and where the wall was located and everything. And he said that he would prime the wall for us, but we would have to wait till he was finished his mural, and he estimated it at 2 to 3 weeks before he could get to our wall. So we waited, and the day the job was to have started, he went and looked at the wall. Now maybe it must have been for the first time that he actually went over and looked at it. And then he said, oh no, this would have to be covered and I'd have to cover this. And he was finished with his job. He was on his way home and he wouldn't be back, so he canceled on us. It's been very disappointing and very frustrating to have to deal with all these delays when our artist and the student artists that won the contest that we had amongst the Tabor High Schools, they were prepared to start, and all this stuff, it was hurry up and wait. We would appreciate very much if council would consider removing the in-kind restriction of these funds and granting CIB the actual funds so that we may hire and book, and we've already contacted people to do this for us, the necessary local suppliers to get started on our murals in a timely manner. These local suppliers are, ready to go whenever we need them, and they're very agreeable to helping us get this done. We'd like to thank the town, you, Mayor Prokop, and the council for your previous support of CIB. We do appreciate you having granted this in kind, which was a suggestion that was made to you from, I believe, the Arts and Heritage Council. We've always had a very amiable working relationship, and we hope to continue that in the future. So if you would consider, now some of those funds, I believe it's less than $300, has already been used because you did wash the walls, the town did wash the wall for us at the beginning. But now we've gone through winter and then we'll go through spring, and that wall will have to be prepped again. It will have to be power washed again. So I believe the total comes to 14,000 something. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me. Thank you very much for
All right, thank you.
considering it.
Any questions arising, Mr. Rumble? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Mrs. Rumble. Hi, Margaret.
Hi, Carly.
Thank you for all that Communities in Bloom does for our community. I know that you
You're
guys,
very welcome. We enjoy it.
and so does the community. I'm going back because I remember your presentation from the Arts and Heritage Committee.
Right.
And you guys were planning to, the painting was supposed to start quite soon.
Yes.
So did you have the funds? Was the project previously funded before?
We had sponsors for tied down for one of the walls because that was the one that we were starting first. For the second and third walls, it was still in the process, but we were pretty sure that we could find sponsors for them. Yes, we did have, well, we were hoping that we would have this. What we were going to use this in kind for were the prepping, and we thought for the 15,000 that we could get all 3 walls, use that money just for the preparation. And the one thing that we had figured on was the cost of the paint, because the primer has to be, it's a marine grade paint primer that we have to put on the walls. And we approached Tabor Home and Farm for the primer, to purchase the primer for Joe's wall, and they donated it to us, which we find that happens quite often. You know, the town businesses have been excellent to us, not only town council and everything, but the town businesses have been very, very good to us. So we take it where we can get it, Carly.
Sure.
And we make it work. And if we have a couple of dimes left over, it goes into the pot for the next project, because this is just sort of the beginning of it. And it was very disappointing, not only for the artist and the students last summer, but we seem to have spent a lot of time waiting.
I think our intention was good, but since
Oh,
the town is not in the
agree.
business of mural painting,
Yes.
unfortunately, maybe we don't have all of the equipment that's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a follow-up question. if that's
Sure,
all right.
absolutely,
Yeah. Will this project be able to go forward if we don't provide this funding?
We are committed to it. We would, yeah, I mean, we've fundraised for other things that, you know, that the town has not committed funds to. I don't know if the town committed any funds. Jean, did they commit any funds to the one on Crawford? No. And the one at the Legion? It is proving a little bit more difficult, not impossible, but difficult when you got the grant money last summer and we have the murals downtown to which the businesses did not have to contribute a cent. We are being asked now for, not for the 3 that were going to happen last summer because they were committed to that already. But I think going forward, we might run into some problems. I don't want to say problems, but we will certainly be asked, well, how come so-and-so got theirs and they didn't have to contribute anything? Now, we're not asking for a particular amount that these businesses, because every business is different. Every business is in a different financial position. So we just ask when we vet their walls and ask them for permission to use their building. Part of our approach is to say, and whatever funds you would like to contribute. And we haven't had a problem, and we hope we're not going to have a problem going forward. But these 3 walls that we want to do this summer, they've already been vetted, and the business owners have agreed to put some money into it. And so I think we're okay with these next 3. This summer, we will start working on the ones for next summer. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Rumble, for your presentation as always. And again, to reiterate, Councilor Firth, thank you so much for all CIB does, and always happy to support you where we can, and looking forward to a very successful 2023 year as well. Any other questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank CIBC Communities in Bloom, CIB, whatever.
Just
I'd
CIB.
like to thank your group for doing all the good you do in town. Tabor looks a lot better because of it. Just recently, we saved ourselves about $230,000 by not doing a ball belt. I think perhaps this could be, the $15,000 would go well to you guys. So I'd like to make the motion that council authorizes $15,000 to be given to Communities in Bloom for their mural work in the downtown area to be taken from the operating reserves.
All right. Thank you. Councilor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Council Bruin, I think we should pass a rescinding motion first, sir, before we vote on
That
the
is
second
correct.
motion.
It's set up that way as a recommendation. Councilor Bruin, if you don't mind just
Oh, I can do that.
starting over again. Mr. Tabor, you're going to clarify that also? So item one, we need to deal with the initial motion to rescind that.
I can do that, Mr. Mayor. I didn't
Councilor
think it
Bruin?
really made a difference. I'll make the motion that council rescinds resolution 249/2022, which states, moved by Councilor Rudd, that council directs administration to provide in-kind services to assist Communities in Bloom mural work in the downtown area up to the amount of $15,000, which would consist of labor, materials, and or equipment.
All right, thank you. We do have a rescinded motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councilor Sorensen? Did we lose her? Councilor Sorensen, you still with us, sir? All right, we'll just have to go with what's here. So it's Councilor Sorensen?
Yeah, there she is.
Okay, just unmute there, Councilor Sorensen, if you would. We read your lips. We're going with the reading lips. In favor, Councilor Sorensen? No, we've lost her. Okay.
I think I
All
saw
right.
him.
Yes, we did. We'll go with that. Unanimously carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies. Appreciate that, and very best of luck to you in 2023,
And
as I
then I
said.
have to make the motion.
Sorry, that's right. Correct, yes. Now back to the second required motion.
I'll do this again.
right.
Mr. Mayor, that council authorizes $15,000 to be given to Communities in Bloom for their mural work project in the downtown area to be taken from operating reserves.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? We have Councilor Sorensen. Councilor Sorensen, in favor also? Perfect, thank you. Carried unanimously, thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, on to item 8.3, Old Man Watershed Council funding requests. Mr. Tebow.
I believe we've got Miss Shannon Frank coming to the microphone.
Ms. Shannon
Yes.
Frank, welcome.
Is this working? Okay.
It's up and running, yep.
Perfect. And how do I advance the slides? Okay.
Might just have to step a little bit closer there, Shannon, if you would.
Okay.
Yeah, I
that
think
better?
that's, yeah, that's better, for sure.
Okay, sure. So just a quick reminder, I'm Shannon Frank. I'm the executive director of the Old Man Watershed Council. We are based in Lethbridge, just down the road. So first, I wanted to thank you for your past support. I know the town has made many donations over the years. I've been here 12 years, and I know I've seen you guys many times over the years. And you know, I often get asked, well, how does that money make a difference? So some of our municipalities are, you know, with the per capita amount, it's pretty small for some. And so I want to assure you that it does make a big difference because we're able to leverage it many times over. A lot of the grants that we apply for require matching funding and require that you show you have community support. And most of our funding does come from those grants. So it makes a big difference to us.
And I also, of course, it does show that we have community support, which is also very important. And there's some funds that are very restricted, like a lot of grants won't pay for GST. So, it helps out with stuff like that. So thank you very much. Next slide. We do have, many, oh no, some of the logos got messed up when I PDF'd it. That's unfortunate. Sorry about that. So many of our towns and villages do donate every year, as well as the MDs and counties, and we do ask everyone for the same amount, that per person amount that's in the letter. So next slide. So our organization is really based on this concept of working together as a community to solve local problems. That's why the 11 watershed councils were set up across Alberta, and that's how we operate today. So we have 19 seats on our board, with the idea that there's one for each major stakeholder group, including, health, Indigenous communities, the federal government, the provincial government, of course, the towns and villages, the counties and MDs, the city of Lethbridge. There's one for academia, et cetera, et cetera. So again, just making sure we're working together as a local community in all of Southwest Alberta. Next slide. So I'll just cover some of our projects, and this is just one of our garbage cleanups in the River Valley. You can keep going. What we've been spending a lot of time on the last 5 to 6 years has been restoring those stream banks. We're seeing a lot of erosion issues on different creeks and rivers, and so we plant a lot of willows and trees as well. So I think last year we planted just over 9,000 willows, which was a new record for us. We're getting better and faster, and our main issue that we face is drought. With the lack of moisture, the willows need to be wet. So we're coming up with creative ways to keep them moist and make sure they can survive those long summer droughts. Thanks. Another project that we just started a couple years ago was actually monitoring the benthic invertebrates. So those are the little bugs that live on the bottoms of creeks. And they tell us a lot about how healthy the water is, how clean it is, if there's enough, food for the fish to eat the bugs, and they're like the base of the ecosystem. So, and when we go out, we also do an assessment of the whole stream. We take a water quality sample and such. So this has been a really exciting program because we actually get a lot of volunteers and community members involved. Sometimes, landowners are coming out, or we've had several retired folks who used to be scientists from the government are volunteering with us now. So we're getting a lot of bang for our buck with being able to send, one staff person and a bunch of volunteers instead of a whole bunch of staff. So that's a really good program. You can keep going. One of our biggest focuses, of course, is always getting people to the point where they're willing to take action to improve the health of the watershed. So we do a lot of what we call point duties, where we set up in busy boat launches or even near bathrooms, things like that, where there's a busy place to talk to people about water and the health of the land. And then we ask them to kind of pledge to take an action. So the For the Love of campaign, there's a picture there with the kids. They'll say, for the love of camping, I will leave no trace, or something that they will commit to, because we know from research that once you commit to something and you take a picture and you put it on your social media, you're much more likely to do it and follow through. You can keep going. We work a lot with both Kaurna and Piikani nations, doing similar work to what I've been describing, planting willows, planting trees. Also grasslands is really important for medicines and ceremonies, so planting native grass species, assessing the health of those stream banks, so we know if the willow staking is actually improving the health. We monitor it over time together, and doing that aquatic monitoring that I mentioned with the bugs. Excuse me, and we've done a lot of training together, and just building those relationships. It's been really good. You can keep going. This Watershed Legacy program is one of our longest running programs. It's actually like a small grant program for anyone who wants to take action for the watershed. We fund a lot of riparian fencing on private land, on public land, on grazing leases, and off-stream watering units to keep the cattle out of the creeks. So you can see some of the numbers there. We have 70 projects over the last decade. And this one has been very successful in improving the health of those stream banks, reducing erosion, keeping nutrients out of the water. If you keep going, I think there's a slide of all the main funders of that program. Oh, the logo's messed up again. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. It's supposed to say RID, I believe, Raymond Irrigation District. And we take applications for these projects. We have 3 experts review them, and then we prioritize based on how much funding we have. We also do a lot of youth education, of course, very important. So we take kids on field trips. We actually have a kid-friendly version of that bug monitoring project that we call Extreme Science, and they love it. Teachers love it. It gets them outside. They get hands-on experience. And so we do a lot of presentations and field trips, things like that. Our newest project that you've probably seen a lot of lately if you're following our newsletter or social media is this one. So this is all about engaging urban consumers in where their food comes from. This was a big project the last year. We had 6 in-person events. We had 8 videos and a bunch of written articles, all with producers. We had farmers and ranchers with us in the videos, with us at the events. We interviewed them for the written articles to really get that local perspective, those local champions, and the response has been really good. I just got the survey results this morning from our analyst, and we have really good results to share. It was over 80% said that they learned something, that they want to learn more, that they feel they have more trust in where their food comes from, and that they really connected with the landowners that they met and that they were learning about. So that's been really positive, and we hope to continue that when the new CAP project is announced. We're expecting the Canadian Agriculture Partnership announcement any moment from the province and the feds. And then so lastly, just ways to keep in touch. We are on all the social media channels. We have a newsletter that goes to your email. We have events every now and again. You can sign up for a membership as well. It's free and it renews automatically, so you only have to do it once. And of course, we have a website. So yeah, I think there's one more slide that's a beautiful picture of where the Oldman River meets the Bow River, not too far east of here. I love to show this at the end of all my presentations to talk to people about how the watershed reminds us that we're all connected to those downstream of us and upstream of us, and we have to work together to keep the water clean and safe. So happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Frank, for that presentation. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation, Shannon. That last picture is the forks, right?
That's right.
Beautiful. I'd like to just address your just to give a little background. I was on the Oldman Watershed Council 17, 18 years ago. It was really focused on the environmental aspects of our watershed, right? It seems to me moving towards more education, and I'm not saying that's bad or good, but that's what it seems to me. But your last bullet on your presentation, Uniting Rural Producers and Urban Consumers Project, and it's got Alberta and Canada financed by the governments, correct? Okay, yeah, that's fine too. But how do you tie that in with the Watershed Council? I don't understand that quite, because it's a totally different subject and matter, I think.
Okay, so just try to get the first one. So one of the first things we did in 2009, 2010 was a State of the Watershed report to see like how healthy is it, what areas need more help than others. And I still use that a lot, and we talk about that a lot. I didn't put the details up there tonight, but there certainly are areas that need addressing, like where they're rated as poor health. And so that's why we have a big focus on restoration and planting willows and trees to improve that health. because that was one of the one things that was identified in that report. We are looking to do a new report, like a science report, in the next couple years, so that we can repeat that. You know, it's been 13 years now since we released the last one, so it is time for that. And the second thing we did years ago was the watershed management plan, which was very technical, very, a lot of engagement went into that. And so you probably remember that. What came out of it was that our goal one, we have 8 goals, and the first goal is to increase the commitment of community residents to the health of the watershed. Because what we heard through that process, it was very much listening to our community, was that yes, we need science and we need plans, but what we need more action and we need more education. That's kind of what we were told by our community, that they were, getting a bit tired of planning. We had the land use framework, we had the South Saskatchewan regional plan at the same time. There was a lot of planning being done by the government. And so they told us, you guys are local, you're on the ground. We want you to do more education and restoration. And so that's why we kind of shifted a little bit more that way. We still do science, but we often don't talk about it as much in a way that's like obvious. We're talking about it more in a public-friendly way. And then secondly, the agriculture literacy project. So it actually turned out to be a really good fit because it was the way that we did it, I would say. So when we were talking to farmers and ranchers, and we had some Indigenous land managers as well, we asked them, how do you manage your farm to benefit the watershed? What kinds of things are you doing differently to improve water quality? How are you preparing for climate change? So through those conversations that were recorded as videos or as written interviews, the connection was made where we were talking very much about how producers are working really hard to improve to lessen their impact on the environment and really have done a lot. And so it did make sense. I know it seems like it's agriculture, watershed, but they're very connected. And also because, agriculture is the largest land use in our watershed. So it makes sense to talk about those things together.
All right.
Follow up,
Thank you.
Mr.
Sure.
Follow
You
up,
bet.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, you didn't quite answer my question, Shannon. Uniting Rural Producers and Urban Consumers Project. That means that means something totally different what you just said, doesn't it? I've got a problem with urban consumers.
Okay.
How does that tie into the watershed? I mean, I know that farmers are more environmentally conscious and more environmentally mature to protect our watershed and riparian and all that stuff. But what's that got to do with urban consumers?
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so it was because the urban consumers were identified as a group of people, an audience that had low knowledge of watershed and agriculture. And so the idea was we can talk to them about food because it's something they're interested in. People aren't necessarily interested in talking about watershed or agriculture or, it's kind of vague, but they're very interested in food and where their food comes from and, is it safe? Is it healthy? And so we kind of took the approach of educating and engaging those urban consumers by talking about food and how it takes water to grow food. It takes land to grow food. And, there's all sorts of benefits and drawbacks and trade-offs that are made in that whole food production system. Excuse me. And we chose those urban people as the audience. And also, if you've probably heard this before, but over 80% of Albertans are urban now. And so, that is a big audience that we needed to reach.
All right. Thank you. Shannon, I believe you do a lot of great work and very important work for the province and the country. as a whole. Just got to ask you, with most of the partners, the municipalities, are most going with the recommended asks financially?
Yeah, most
Okay.
give the ask that we make.
Right,
And
yeah.
what we do for this really small ones is we ask for a flat rate of $200.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know, I'm not quite sure, going from memory here, what some of the conversations we've had, but it just seems to me that maybe we're a little light with our past contributions. If it's, $1,500 last few years, I think it was, Mr. Tebow, is that correct? So I'm not quite sure how we come to that figure, but I guess it doesn't matter at this stage, but to me, it's probably important to support that more than that, and probably closer to your ask, if not your entire ask. If council would consider that as a possibility with all the great work in it. There's still some things that I guess we're not all understand or up on, like maybe we should be or could be. There's a lot to this. I know it's pretty deep, right? But it's very important. When you're talking water, it's huge, right? So to me, you can't have enough support involved with that. Councillor Becker.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Shannon, now, you provide audited financial statements, obviously, right?
Mhm.
Do you have any reserves?
Absolutely.
Do you have any reserves?
So I think it was last year actually, we did establish a operating reserve. The recommendation for we're a nonprofit and a charity is to have at least 3 months. So we have set that aside in case of financial disaster. But we've been very fortunate, and we're very on top of the grant writing.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question about our water quality. Like, how you have the report. I'm just curious if, like, in our section of where we are along the Watergate, like, how are we doing?
Of course. So I wish I had brought my table. I have a really nice table that would have been great. But basically, we are in the prairie zone. We split into mountains, foothills, prairie, and then the southern tributaries that are the St. Mary and Belly rivers. And the prairies is actually the least healthy, unfortunately. But if you guys are interested, I could do a different presentation just about the health of the watershed. But there's when you see the maps and the change in land use, it makes sense. Like, we've made trade-offs to focus on development in the prairies, and we've changed the landscape dramatically. And so I don't like to say to people that it's like a disaster or anything, right? It's a decision and a choice that we made, and you can't have healthy landscapes everywhere. And so a lot of the focus over the last many years has been protect the headwaters, make sure we have clean, clear water coming downstream, and then we can use it downstream where we need it. And so we very much like to talk to people about choices and trade-offs. But the prairies has the lowest riparian health, which is the stream banks. And that's why we're planting lots of willows and trees there, because a lot of them have been lost for many reasons. And there's a lot of interest in restoring those forests. And so we're helping to do that. And then it also has the lowest rating for water quantity, because it's just dry. And we're taking a lot of water out of our rivers for irrigation purposes, which is an important industry. So it's a trade-off that we make. And it fluctuates a lot, like, depending on the weather. So in a dry year, everybody suffers. The trees suffer, the fish suffer, we suffer. And we really rely on those average and high average years, above average years, to kind of make it up and help us create like a piggy bank of water.
All right, thank you.
Follow-up, Mr. Mayor?
Sure, absolutely.
So is there anything that, I know that you guys and your organization is doing a wonderful job, in trying to like improve things, but is there anything that the average person can do to improve things, or not really? It's more like what you
So-
guys can do. versus what anybody else can do. I know, like, yeah, taking trash out from camping or something can definitely make a difference, but you know,
Yeah.
like in our area, is there anything that we can do?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I tell people who live in towns, cities, villages, um, the for an urban person, the biggest impact is your stormwater. So stormwater is not treated; it goes directly back into the river or creek, or somewhere. And most people don't realize that. They a lot of times think it gets treated at the wastewater treatment plant. And so we often tell people, what you do in your yard does matter too, and what you are encouraging your town to do in parks and parking lots matters, because we've done studies in Lethbridge, and the amount of nutrients coming off lawns, the amount of fecal coliforms from pet waste, and probably some from wildlife, the amount of pesticides and sediment is very high. Every time there's a big rainstorm, everything gets washed off. That's why we sweep our streets, is to reduce that sediment load. So that, it's that stormwater that I think is the most important for urban people. And we haven't done one lately, but about 15 years ago, there was a study looking at the biggest impacts on water quality in the Oldman River. And those urban stormwater impacts were on par with agriculture. So they're not insignificant.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising?
I have
Councillor
one.
Sorensen? Sure, you bet.
I was just wondering how much of your funding is based on actual projects and how much is, to me, my opinion is perhaps more of a political activism, and how you're trying to, maybe engage the public in water preservation in regards to instead just working on projects.
Right. So we are a neutral organization. We are apolitical, and we don't take sides on any issues. We just share information. And so I would say, close to 90% of our funds are project based. Like when we apply for a grant, it's for a specific project. We do have an office space, and we have to pay insurance and GST and stuff, but all of our funding is tied to specific deliverables.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, see none, someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll prepare to make a motion.
Absolutely.
I'll move that council provides a donation to the Old Man Watershed Council in the amount of $3,961 to be taken out of the council discretionary fund for 2023. And
All right.
request that administration include the donation amount in the future operating budget going forward.
All right, very well, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councillor Sorensen?
I'm not in favor.
All right.
Not in favor.
Councillor Bruin also opposed? All right, and carried. Thank you. Thank you,
very
Shannon.
much.
Thank you very much. All right, that takes care of all our items other than media inquiries, Mr. Tebow?
Surprise, there are none.
No media inquiries. That'll come tomorrow likely somewhere. All right, and we have one closed session item to take care of. Councillor Sorensen, that would be yours. Item 10.1 coming out of closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a recommendation that council authorizes the lease renewal with the Tabor Minor Hockey Association for a portion of the facility and equipment known as the large ice arena boards, the south wall, the large ice surface, and the ice resurfacer sides, as specifically detailed in the lease for a term to expire March 31st, 2027.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering, any question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would ask Council Sorensen for a friendly amendment, rather than recommend that you make a motion.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Thank
I
you,
make
Mr.
a
Mayor.
motion.
Thank you, Council Sorensen.
All right, thank you. All right. So, sir, I'm just clarifying what your ask is, your friendly amendment.
Mr. Mayor, Council Sorensen in her statement said she recommends
Okay,
a
yeah,
motion, but it should be a motion to.
Just-
It's a motion to action.
I see. You can just take the recommends out. Is it your, what you're asking?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And you're in favor of that, Councilor Sorensen?
I
All
am.
right, all right, thank you. Friendly amendment, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. And just a motion to close the meeting, please. Councilor Firth,
I move that we close the meeting.
motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously.
Guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Joanne.